The next one is wow, this is a simple question, but it's a very, very big answer, actually. So we're going to have to be very selective with how we answer Tony. So Tony asks, I would love to have some pointers on changing my sales culture. Expectations have been too low for too long. Jack, you and I can fight each other for this one, but both of us can speak for half a day, and we have, just on this topic. Do you want to kick us off? Do you want me to jump in?
I'm gonna do a brief one. I'll kick it off. I'll do it brief, and then I want you to take it with more specificity.
Okay, let's do it.
I would love for Tony to just imagine hiring a new sales leader for the organization, and that Tony hires either you or me in that role. And if you have any familiarization with either one of us, what you're hiring on are guys that are going to introduce change in a big way to your organization. There's no way either one of us as a new leader are going to go with low expectations. So look, if you were to bring either one of us into that role and give us the power, empower us to really do what we need to do as sales leaders, there are going to be some people that are on the team today that are not going to be on the team down the road. And by the way, that road is a short road. And some of them will be leaving because you or I make the decision for them to leave. And others will be leaving because they made the decision that they don't like the new culture in the organization. It's required. And I love the fact that I make analogies with sports teams all the time. But a non-performing sports team, they don't hesitate in making changes with a head coach. And when the new head coach comes in, there's a significant amount of change that takes place. And by the way, the journalists and all the people on the television are going to critique each move that they make and all the rest of that. And you just have to stay very committed to what your game plan is and believe in what you're doing is correct. And the results will manifest themselves and prove you to be right. So I just say, look, you need to just make the decision. If you're looking for higher expectations in the organization, it needs to be led by somebody that believes in those higher expectations and is given the empowerment to execute. So it's that simple for me, but you go.
Tony, I think without sounding self-serving, the first thing that I would recommend is that you buy Jack's book, Hyper Sales Growth. The first third of that book is just on sales culture. And that's going to give you more ideas and inspiration about what you can do in your sales culture than any other book that I've picked up, certainly in recent years. To give you a kind of a succinct answer, there are 4 pillars to sales culture, and you're going to need to touch all 4 of them in order to make any kind of lasting change to your sales culture. Now, if you say that you have a culture at the moment that you don't like, as Jack says, you need to start with this mindset. Change is inevitable, and change is going to be painful. You're probably going to lose some people along the way that have made you money and or you like. But if your vision is big and if you want to scale this business, then it's about the replicability of what you're doing. And that means that we can't have people in the business that are holding us ransom because they think they know better. So I just want to put that out there. So let me quickly talk to you about the 4 pillars. I'm not going to go into any great detail. There's lots of opportunities to see me and Jack speak on this topic. Number 1, we need to look at your recognition systems. How are you recognizing people within the business? And there is monetary and non-monetary ways to recognize. And recognition systems are a lot about creating an expectation of success in your business. We want to celebrate our wins. We want to lead by example. We want to share our vision enthusiastically. There is lots of things that we need to do in order to drive recognition and reward within the company. And ultimately, if I had to summarize it, you get more of the behavior that you recognize and reward. That's what it's about. So you, Tony, have to be absolutely clear on what are the behaviors and activities that are aligned with the sales culture that I want. And then you have to recognize and reward that consistently so that you get more of it. The second thing is going to be communication. How do you communicate within that business? I don't know how big or how small your team is. We just talked earlier about Calvin, who has a distributed team across the nation, but you're going to have to really think about the cadence and the rhythm of communication. Your quarterly deep dives, your monthly deep dives, your weekly accountability, your weekly performance coaching. You're going to have to think about your state of the nation. But also, communication oftentimes is making people feel like they're connected to you, irrespective of how big your team is. Handwritten notes, cards, birthday cards, anniversaries, things like that, where the team feel like they're connected to you. What we're trying to do is we're trying to add some high touch into your sales culture. We also want a sales culture where our salespeople understand that candor, radical candor is encouraged. We want honesty and transparency, because unless we have honesty and transparency in our sales team, we're never really going to know what's happening. So communication is going to be a significant pillar in your sales culture. The third thing that we're going to have to look at is empowerment. So many companies, especially growing companies, have got disempowered, anemic sales teams that are afraid to make decisions. They run back to the boss, they run back to the sales manager, the sales leader, the CEO, and say, can I do this deal? There's a great little book that I want you to pick up that's called How to Make a Buck and Still Be a Decent Human Being by a guy called Rick Rose. It's a super simple read. And Rick is going to tell you about the 5 questions that every business should have. And if your salespeople go out into the world and they get a yes, 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 let them do the deal. Are they going to make mistakes? Absolutely. Are they going to try and, cheat the system? Maybe. But you're going to have to pay those school fees, because the alternative is you don't, and you have a bottleneck in your sales process, and your salespeople can't run fast and they can't run far. And then you're never going to have a fast growing sales organization. And then the final thing, which is a really big topic, is about professional and personal development. And a lot of that has got to do with building a playbook. If I said to you today, Tony, you know what, let me get a feel for what's happening in your business. Send me your playbook. Would you say, what is a playbook? Or, hey, I have a few bits. Or would you actually give me a fully functioning, well-developed playbook? What are the best practices that you're consistently asking your people to undertake? And then how do they feel about it? What is the adoption rate of your playbook? How do people, is this the kind of business where, yeah, we do what is best practice because we're proud of this company, we're proud of this product? Or do you have the kind of organization where you have some individuals that say, leave me alone, I have my own style? So we first have to see how strong, healthy, and or toxic is your current culture. That's going to determine the amount of change. And then you're going to have to learn into those 4 pillars in order for us to rebuild your sales culture to something that is going to support hyper sales growth.